The biggest deal of the summer transfer window is about to come to a conclusion. A huge, a massive, a hugely fundamentally important update from David Ornstein has just in the last few moments been revealed, and this is truly significant. It says negotiations over a deal for Alexander Isak to seal a move now centre on Newcastle United's exception of a fee around 130 million. The original aim was 150 million. Liverpool 120 million. And a first bid came to sort of a verbal offer of 120 million and the first bid 110, nearing a compromise is what David Ornstein says. That being stated, a number of journalists that I have personally reached out to tonight have said they are all on tenterhooks as they believe the deal could complete in a matter of minutes, moments, in the forthcoming hours, as there are strong rumours that the deal has already been agreed behind the scenes and the formal announcements are very, very close. That the agreement between the clubs is done. Of course, it may take a little bit longer for the deal to officially complete and get over the line. This comes an hour or so, a couple of hours after Dave O'Cop, who said that Liverpool are closing in on a deal to sign Alexander Isak after positive talks on Sunday. Ben Jacobs has also confirmed this news as well, confirmed the news that this evening positive talks took place. Now, my personal feeling is these talks took place ever before this evening. I don't think tonight was hugely significant. I just don't think that Liverpool wanted too much of a distraction ahead of what was a massive game with Arsenal, a must-win game in what is going to be a very, very close season indeed. But this is, as I've already mentioned, a hugely significant update from Dave O'Cop, Ben Jacobs, and of course, why was I about to call him Daniel Ornstein? David Ornstein as well. It's because Dave O'Cop got into my head. But this is massive. And look, there'll be a lot of Newcastle fans tonight, very, very disappointed indeed. And I get why. I understand why. I know the frustrations why. But this was always coming. Let's be absolutely honest. Let's be absolutely blunt. Let's be absolutely direct in everything that we're saying here. This was always going to happen. And what I thought was very, very significant was actually the update that came through maybe 2 hours ago now. And that was an update. And I don't mean to laugh, but I can't help myself but laugh at the Luke Edwards update. Now, Luke Edwards is someone that's been calling people simpletons all summer, stupid people, a typical journalist talking down to the working class men and women of this world. That's the majority of you. That's definitely me. Acting as though we're stupid and we're dumb and we don't understand the game. And the amount of articles not for sale. The stance is firm. It's got firmer. It's even stiffer now. It was stiff already, but now Viagra has been added to the situation and it's really stiff and hard. That's been going on all summer. Do you know what he said about 2 hours ago? And this was the moment when I sort of sat there and laughed. And I don't want Liverpool to get this player because it improves my biggest rival so significantly. But he said, and I quote, Newcastle will consider selling Alexander Isak without a replacement. It says they will give serious consideration to letting Alexander Isak sign for Liverpool if they receive a bid of 130 million on deadline day. And it's really funny because people like myself have received such high levels of abuse for suggesting 4, 5, 6 weeks plus ago that a deal could be done for around 130 million pound. This false media narrative, this lie that's been pushed by certain aspects of the mainstream media, including the likes of TalkSport, that Newcastle would stand firm, that there was no way the player was for sale, Liverpool bid 150 plus, so you're not going to get it done. It's all turned out to be an absolute crock of shit. And I'm sorry to swear, I'm sorry if people have got children around, but I've got to call it for what it is. I've got to call it for what it is. I have to. I've got to call this out. I've got to say what this is to every normal person out there, especially the working classes, because the media pretend they write the news for us. They don't. They condescend. They hate what we are. They truly do. And we know that because they lie to us about things like net spend all the time. They've recently started. I heard Roy Keane just 2 weeks ago bemoan Arsenal's performance levels but winning against Man United. Today I hear him praise Liverpool for poor performances but winning games. And that isn't to have a dig at Liverpool or stick up for Arsenal, but it's the condescending nature we get from the mainstream media, the duplicity in what they say. And the Newcastle media, if they hold any credibility amongst Newcastle fans moving forward, shame on the fans. Because you're not worthy of the brains that your parents gave to you. You're really, really not. Because people like Luke Edwards a few weeks ago, as I've already mentioned, were calling people dullards and simpletons and stupid for not getting what he was saying, that Isak is not for sale. Ironically, within the same paragraph stated, unless all the conditions were met, but then whilst pushing out headlines that he is not for sale and the club's stance was final. The only mistake Newcastle have made here is allowing it to get to this point. Allowing it to get to this stage that they're going to let him go without having two strikers come in. If they'd have sold him for even 110, 120, 8-9 weeks ago, they would have probably had two replacements in. And in the end, they've had the opening 3 games of the Premier League season with no striker. With no striker, which has led to a situation where they have barely scored goals in their opening 3 games. They have just 2 points in their opening 3 games. And they should be in such a much stronger position. In fact, I actually think performance-wise, they've probably been good enough to win their opening 3 games. Give them a striker or two, they may have got that done. But instead of the Newcastle media caring about the fans, instead of the Newcastle media putting the fans first, what they've done is they've lied to the fans. The fans have had a summer online, angry at Liverpool, angry at Isak, sending out abuse in the wrong directions, where their anger and their criticism should have gone is towards their own football club. But their media has been taking brown envelopes and has been lying to them. But look, from a Liverpool point of view and perspective, this is absolutely massive. Absolutely massive in every single which way. This is also coupled with news tonight, and Sammy McBell has just put this story out in the last few moments as we are live. An agreement on the price and figures for Mark Gahey to Liverpool are really close. I expect that deal to be done tomorrow. And there's talk of that ranging between 35 and 40 million. And I've said this before to Liverpool fans, and I'll say it again and again and again. Yes, there's 1 year left on his contract, but it's worth the money. With what you will now get him for in terms of salary and agent fees and bonuses, if you get him for free in a year's time, the 40 odd million, let's go to the maximum you'll probably pay, 40 mil, including add-ons. You're going to add that. You're going to pay that anyway in his salary, massive signing on fees, massive agent fees, massive bonuses. You don't really, the only team that loses out is Crystal Palace, actually, because they get nothing. Liverpool are still going to, over a 5-year period, invest around the same amount of money. They might save themselves 5 million, 10 million, but Gahey's going to be massively beneficial to Liverpool to come in this season. And what a deadline day it's going to be. And there's a weird thing with Liverpool. They've got the majority of their business done really early in the window and praised for it. And maybe their 2 biggest and 2 most significant deals are actually going to happen on deadline day, which is one of those things where I've said it for years, and I'll have to repeat it again next year for the simpletons that believe in the mainstream media, because of the lies they push, that you don't always get your number one target as the first signing through the door. Your number one priority doesn't always come in straight away. And this is the proof in the pudding for me. But what a fantastic end. What a fantastic way for Liverpool to end what is an excellent summer. A perfect start to the Premier League season in terms of results. And I still think there's so much more to come from Liverpool in terms of, as I say, performances, because they've not really been there so far. And I see a few people in the comments will say, oh, are you telling me that Arsenal are better than Liverpool today? That isn't really what I said. I see a few people complaining and moaning. Didn't say that in any way, didn't say that in any form. I'm simply pointing out that Liverpool weren't great today, but they won and got praised for it by Roy Keane, where Arsenal weren't great on the opening day of the season and won, but got slagged off for it but from Roy Keane. And I'm pointing out that the same media that attacks you attacks others. And what I don't do is play games with it. So I won't say the media are out of order towards Liverpool and then act like they treat everybody else well, because they simply don't. But massive breaking news, as I said, the deal is done and the deal is dusted, and you're going to start to see that break very, very soon indeed. Here we go, are going to start dropping. Massive updates are on the way. As I say, I spoke to a number of very, 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 very credible journalists over the last couple of hours, and they've said you're going to start to see that news break soon. So I decided to go live. And just as I say that, we have a massive piece of news for you all. And that is now Luke Edwards confirming that Newcastle United have tonight agreed 130 million sale of Alexander Isak to Liverpool. It is done. It is dusted. It's over the line. Get yourselves ready, Liverpool fans. You have just made, in my opinion, the signing of the summer, a British transfer record by every stretch of the imagination. A massive, massive congratulations to each and every single one of you. But get the like button hit on this stream if you haven't done so already. Get yourselves subscribing to the Football Terrace, because this is a done deal that will soon complete.